Hi, CB.
Hi, my bear.
We've got episode 42 of Chit-Chats.
I know, crikey. It's a lot of episodes.
It is.
But this is with a very special person.
Yeah.
I would like to call it a chit-chat throwback a bit.
Yes, quite a throwback.
It's a little bit of a time ago.
Way back from 2022. So he was on Garden as well, 2022, episode 11.
Yes.
This is George Lowther.
Yes.
And if you can cast your mind back then, George had this beautiful tropical garden.
Yeah.
In his not massive garden space.
No. And it hadn't been there for that long.
No.
Only just put it in place.
But we do find out how his appearance on Garden as well came about.
Yeah, behind the scenes.
The efforts he had to put in prior to actually being on screen.
Yeah.
And when you hear about all the behind the scenes and then cast your mind back to how immaculate it all looked on Garden as well. You'll be quite surprised.
It is quite amazing. But it was really, really lovely to chat with him because we knew about him from mutual friends, as we say in the beginning, who are Anne-Marie and Andrew from the amazing 50 Shades of Green garden. And he does some of the most amazing videos on YouTube of touring some gardens. And he was touring, he was doing a little tour around Anne-Marie and Andrew's garden. And
it's a brilliant tour.
Talking about the different plants, and he's got a really nice way and casual but at the same time kind of presenter like a way of just chatting to the camera.
We basically think George should be a presenter on Garden as well.
We do,
because he's got a very comfortable way of presenting. He's very informative. He gets a nice rapport with his guests.
He does. He's nice, but at the same time he can kind of have a bit of fun.
He's funny as well.
He is really funny. And we chat about this in this episode, how the kind of behind the scenes of his videos and how he's actually feeling when he's filming them, and kind of it's quite funny because
he's like the proverbial swan, isn't he? He looks calm and collected on the screen, but apparently those little leggies are paddling away underneath the surface frantically. But we really loved this chit chat. It was fun. Very funny, and it was really interesting to hear about his dream garden.
Absolutely. And there are some funny bits where he just couldn't quite choose what he wanted to do, especially with the garden boundary. It's quite hard to mash it all together, which I understood because sometimes boundaries aren't perfect and you want a bit of everything.
Yeah, he definitely wants a bit of everything.
Yeah, he definitely wants a bit of everything.
He also talks about how he planned his tropical garden at home.
Yeah.
We hear a bit about his photography background.
Yep.
Including his experience at London Fashion Week.
I know.
There are a lot of references to Wayne from Ventnor on the Isle of Wight.
Yep.
And I don't know if there's a little bit of competition between these two tropical plant growers. But you'll hear he references Wayne and Wayne's tropical garden that he chose on his chit-chat with us.
It's quite funny.
And we do also all dream of having an arboretum.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate dream.
Absolutely.
We did talk about, at one point, the fruit of the Chilean wine palm, and I asked if it was edible, and we were questioning exactly what it looked like and all of that.
Yes.
George wasn't entirely sure. I had a look afterwards, and apparently they are an edible nut, and it tastes like coconut, but much, much smaller, which is why they're given the name coquito, which means little coconut.
Oh, sweet.
Now, we did have a few noises. George has a squeaky chair. You have a squeaky chair that also kept thudding into the wall.
Yes, because I was in a different chair.
Yeah.
It was a weird chair. I didn't
like
this chair.
Because we were away from home. No hobs our end, and then some dachshunds at George's end, who, if they see a fly, then they must get it. So there's a lot of excitable woofing. But it did remind me, of course, of Christopher Lloyd's love for dachshunds and his mosaic at Great Dixter. So George and Christopher Lloyd.
Same thing. Yeah.
So, Sweet Pea, tell us the format.
So the structure for George's dream garden is garden boundary, shed or greenhouse, 5 ornamentals, 5 edibles, 1 statement tree, pond or pool plus 1 plant, and finally favourite seating area, drink. and 1 plant.
And as always, we have put recommendations that George has made to various nurseries and so on. Put that on our website. If you go to notjustagarden.co.uk, go to the gardens page, you'll find all the recommendations with pins on the map. And you will find George on the Rogues Gallery on the Chit-Chats page there as well. And if you want to get in contact, go to the contacts page and drop us a message, any feedback, or you can email us at notjustagarden@outlook.com. So without further ado, I think we should get stuck into this episode. This is episode 42, a good old chit-chat with George Lowther.
Off we go to the jungle.
Welcome, George, to good old chit-chat.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. We know of you through some mutual friends, probably.
That's worrying.
And that is Anne-Marie and Andrew of 50 Shades of Green fame.
Yes.
And we had them on a chit-chat previously, and you also did a beautiful interview with them where you went round their garden and beautifully filmed their
Thank you very
patch.
much. Thank you.
And that was kind of the tropical link, because you are a tropical aficionado, aren't you? You were on Gardener's World in 2022 showing your tropical paradise.
Yes, definitely. So we've been at this new house now for 5 years, but I still keep calling it a new house because you know how life is. Time just disappears, doesn't it?
Entirely.
And this was very much a tropical style jungle garden. That is the main theme going through. And around 6 months after moving here, that's when I started my YouTube channel. And that was about sharing my own garden here, my own experiences. I realised I could sort of do similar to what other people are doing out there. I enjoy the visual element to it, film and everything, the cinematography, if you want to give it a posh name.
Do you have a background in that?
Not professionally. Personally, dabbled with professionally, then gone back to personally. I just enjoy photography, and it transfers over very nicely. But what I found is, getting into the channel, I did enjoy sharing about the plants that I enjoy growing, how-to guides, sort of seasonal guides, things like that. Gradually over time, it took about 100 videos to get any shred of personality in there.
Really?
I tried to slowly increase that and then decrease it again when it got too much. And then in the past few years, I've started doing these garden visits, these tours around other people's gardens, which is amazing, because the only way you really learn is through seeing other people's gardens, isn't it? It's taking these things in. Obviously, different I enjoy meeting these plants people. Of course, definitely. And the other thing is, it means I don't have to weed or tidy my garden every single week for a video.
That's a very good point.
Yes.
Well, when you were on Gardener's World, we were saying how immaculate it did look. How much weeding and tending to it did you do before they turned up?
Well, a bit of a story there. Essentially, we moved in at the beginning of August in 2020. Gardener's World reached out to me within a few videos of me uploading to my channel, which is possibly the dream for some people, but slightly tricky. And that was in March time. I'd like to think it was my personality that shone through rather than the garden at that stage. But
of course,
we'll say pure luck. But they reached out to me and basically said, we're interested in coming to your garden. Now, being on Gardener's World has been one of my, I won't say it's a proper lifelong ambition or goal, but it's one of those things that I would have liked to have done one day, and I know that I could potentially get there.
Checklist.
Yeah, sort of. I won't say bucket list, because that gives the impression I've got a very, very empty life. But for me, at least, it was definitely a goal. Feel free to track this down as you need. So it was something I had always aimed for. And when they got in touch in March, my instinctive response was, yeah, that's fantastic, but you're about 3 years too early. And at that stage, I hadn't quite realised how YouTube takes so much time. Whatever genre or interest people are filming it's takes amazing. At least 2/3 of the time you would spend on that task.
Yeah, I totally understand that.
Yes. So after we moved in, there was an initial sort of mad flurry of progress where within, say, August to October, you would recognise the garden it is now from what I did in that time before I started faffing around with my camera too much.
Yeah.
Then in March, obviously, starting these videos, Gardener's World got in touch, really friendly team, research are great and everything, and they said, we just need a video showing through your garden so we can essentially test it, make sure you're ready to go on Gardener's World, just to make sure it ticked all the boxes, was enough to talk about. So I did a video, and I decided in my head, let's just go for it, because if you say no, you'll never get the opportunity again. You just got to go for these things, haven't you? And I filmed a video which was done with my phone and very sort of craftily not showing areas that are just completely not done. Huge areas of weeds, expansive stuff.
Oh, we all do that,
This was on a sort of like 50% of the garden I didn't show. It was just like, yeah, let's have a look at this border, then just pan up over here. So for whatever reason, they were obviously fooled by the footage. And then I set myself essentially a 6-month deadline. I knew they were coming around August, September time-ish.
Okay, so you had quite a decent amount of time.
In theory,
because we've had some people who've said they got the call and then it was 2 weeks later.
I think it's very much a seasonal thing. They said to me, when does my garden look best? And obviously a lot of tropical style jungle plants tend to look better at the back end of summer, very early autumn, nice long growing season. So in that sense, I got to set the narrative a little bit and give myself a bit of breathing space. But these things, sometimes having a goal to aim for, it really does sort of push you on. And
entirely, yeah.
So I'm sort of pleased how I got it together. There was still areas of the garden, like the far end and the bit close to the house, which I've only really started on this year in sort of earnest.
Yeah.
I've got my ongoing fire pit project, which people who follow my channel will be fed up by now. I think I'm on episode 384 now of
how to build a fire pit.
Yeah, basically, picking weeds out the bits that I'd started doing last year. But essentially the garden, it came together to a point. There was lots of last minute, literally the day before Garden Swell came, I was putting some little cobbles down his edges and putting a load of bark chipping. Well, major landscaping, but essentially, they came around and didn't realise.
In those 6 months, were you doing it entirely yourself? You didn't.
Oh yeah, it's all
bring
myself.
Friends in to do it. And did you have a plan of where you wanted it to be within those 6 months, or did you just think, I'm just going to stick with what I've got and make it as prettify it as much as possible as it currently is?
A definite plan. My plan was, I had an inkling the researchers would come round hopefully the night before, like they did, and I didn't want them at that point then to have to quickly scramble for another local garden to go to instead. That's essentially my plan. Get through it.
That'd be depressing.
I knew that a lot of my plants that I brought from the old house are grown in pots. I knew there was enough to talk about with the plants. For me, it was just about
big ones as well.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of big plants, everything. For me, it was just about getting it together. I always knew what I was. Well, not I always, but I planned this garden out before we moved in because it was a lockdown sale. Buying the house was. So essentially, we had about 6 months before we could move in. So I had plenty of time to sketch a garden out, and I virtually knew to the plan what I was doing. It was very much a case of how much can I get done in this 6 months and get looking half decent, half presentable, whilst not rushing it for the sake of rushing it, because it's all about enjoying the process, isn't it, and the journey, and trying to do that whilst also doing the YouTube thing was definitely a learning experience. But it sets you up for life, doesn't it? Of multitasking and learning to do lots in very little time. So
entirely. Were you holding down a day job as well?
Yeah, my day job. I work mostly in the office, but occasionally out on site for essentially a plumber, heating engineers, and we work on a lot of MOD camps. So it's long hours. It's usually out the house by 7 and not back till late on. So it's
my word! So you're doing that and YouTube and zhuzhing the garden.
I don't know anyone that does tropical style gardening YouTube full time that makes good living out of it. So, no, it's very much
the dream, though, right?
That's the dream.
But for some people, I like a bit more balance. To be fair, I do enjoy some elements of my job, and I enjoy the stability of having a day job. But there are times when you think, especially when it's summer and there's beautiful mornings, you think, I could really do with being out here today, but I can't. I've got to go to work. But that's life, isn't it? That's life for a lot of people.
So before you moved in, so you bought the house in lockdown, you saw that long bare garden and you knew, I want to do tropical style planting.
Yeah.
When you planned it out, had you even planned which plants were going to go where, or you just knew I want to fill it in a jungle style? And
no, it's a good question. I had actually essentially planned it down to the plants, if you like. It's
right.
We bought this house for the garden. It's literally as simple as that. Because I wanted the garden. The other side of that, there'll be a debt that has to be repaid when my wife wants an extension for the kitchen, and I have to, all my garden money goes funneling towards that. So pushing that one as far into the future as I can.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Yes. Essentially, we weren't planning to move. We still had a couple of years left on the mortgage at our old house. It was always we'd like to move somewhere one day and have a forever house, to use an awful phrase. It was always a plan to have a bigger garden, and we then saw this house, which it's about 7.5 meters wide by about 70 meters long, so it's a really long garden.
Yeah.
Is it mid terrace?
It's semi-detached, but not a huge house. It's a modest house, but neither of us wanted a huge house, but with a proper, or essentially blank canvas garden. And to me, as much as it'd be nice to have a huge expanse of land, a great big square plot, I do like the idea of having a journey through a garden. And as much as I'd like it to be maybe 10 or 15 metres wide, having something that length, and also with it runs essentially from east to west. So you've got that south facing for a lot of it. There's some nice trees overhanging the middle. So it was a very good mixture of, the soil was good. I definitely looked at that when we first came to look at the house. I had a bit of a kick into the ground. Didn't take a testing kit, but I just, obviously us professional gardeners just go off by eye by these things, don't we? We look at the colour of the grass. Now I took a complete punt on the pH side of things, but the soil looked good. I was happy with the way that the garden ran. It had a nice blend of different lighting conditions. And then also there's, to the north of us, there's a nice hill with a wood. So that cuts out, in theory, some of that cold air. Yeah. And we've got the full village to the east. So hopefully, in theory, a nice little microclimate. In reality, it's possibly just a killing field for plants that are pushing a little bit too far with. But, like everywhere, you've got to have something that really grabs you initially, and then you've got to run with it and see what you learn on the way, haven't you? But when he said, did I plan down to the nearest plant, it was very much, this is where I want my winding path, these are where I want my tree ferns, these are where I want my gunnerers. So it was, in the 6 months that I had while COVID was happening, I had to work through COVID, or I had the privilege of working, I didn't lose my job or anything. And in between digging the garden up in the most beautiful spring we've ever had, really, this year, I got a lot of time to plan things out and think, this is where I want this plant to go. It was very much a home for my plants, as opposed to building a garden to create a certain aesthetic, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So prior to moving to that garden, did you have any horticultural background?
Not formally. As a child, I was possibly, really, well, in fact, there's no possibly about it. I was very into my gardening, and it was something that hit me from a very early age. I think for me, initially, my first interest was trees. I just love trees, the differences between them all, different barks, different style, how some get completely huge and tower over you, how others are more dainty, just the forms of them, everything. And trees was my first interest, but then that led into plants, which to me are possibly, I guess, larger than life is probably the way to describe it. So like a banana plant, I bought one of them, had it in the bathroom at home, just how fast it could grow, the fact that it looked artificial.
Amazing.
Yeah.
There's just something about them that just something that we don't have outside here. I guess that's a big sort of draw of it. And then I actually grew a lot of the same plants which I grow now in our family garden at the time, probably before I was 10.
Right.
Obviously they didn't last as long. I'm slightly better at growing them now, or at least I know why they've died. That's probably the only sort of evolution. But
you started early.
Oh yeah, definitely. I was. If you'd asked me when I was sort of 7 or 8, I would have said I want to be a garden designer. That is my thing. I had a whole bookcase full of garden books. I was very into reading and just a sponge for everything. It never led to anything professional in that sense because of other sort of circumstances and the way the school system pushes you towards what they want you to do. That's another conversation for another day. But it then, after I went to uni, came back home, then got a rental house a few years down the line. It was then obviously, to use a poor analogy, it was a seed which had lain dormant that was ready to then burst into life and take over my life once again.
So what did you study at uni?
I studied English literature at uni.
Oh, okay. And horticulture wasn't an option?
No. Looking back, there was a period of my life when, probably a lot of younger people are the same, when you allow yourself to be led by teachers, figures of authority, in terms of you're good at this is what you want to be doing. And I remember from my work experience when I was around 15, 16, I wanted to work at the local garden centre. And that's what I wanted to do. In the end, I went to work at the council and made tea and sarcastic remarks at meetings I shouldn't have been in. But, it was an opportunity, but an opportunity missed, really. However, once I got to college, I then ended up working at a garden centre, but not in the plant section, as a compost boy for 4 years. I think for me, it was a big turning point where I sort of realised, if you're doing something, you've got to do something because you're fully sort of into it. And also, I think probably the years after that taught me that just because you can do something, want to do something, doesn't mean it should necessarily be your job or your profession. And sometimes that can actually completely suck all the, what you really, the creativity, the being experimental, the things that you enjoy, not having to do things a certain way. So it's easy to look back and say, I wish I had done that. But in reality, if I was designing gardens for people around here on a budget that had to tick their boxes, I probably wouldn't enjoy it.
Yeah, I totally understand that. That's often the way it goes when it's a hobby.
Yeah.
It's great, then you make a career of it, suddenly that all the other pressures that come into it.
Well, this is, I mean,
not such a joy.
With photography, that's something I enjoyed obviously immensely through uni. I probably did more photography than I did actual English literature, which possibly explains why I didn't get a first. But I enjoyed my photography. I had loads of adventures, went really out of my comfort zone, photographed London Fashion Week and a load of sports and events everywhere, and I really enjoyed it. Came out to uni and thought,
was that paid work?
Oh no, it was through the uni, so for the uni newspaper. So
okay.
There's a little sweet spot where you can get sort of editorial access to these things, and they assume you're more legit than what you are.
Yeah.
But I wasn't expecting to get paid, but I came out of uni thinking maybe I go into wedding photography, which is actually what my young brother does now. But for me, it was again that I enjoy photography, I like being creative, but you do that under pressure, having to wear smart clothes, boss people around, organise a day with absolutely no chance of repeating anything, and it suddenly becomes a kind of high pressure environment, which looking back, I wouldn't want to have that kind of thing for horticulture. But who knows, who knows?
Yeah. So because you did all that photography at uni, well, wait, so when you finished, you did English literature, you now are a plumbing engineer?
I'm not an engineer, I'm just on the tools. I stay well away from any water.
Oh, okay. You're on the what? What do you mean on the tools?
I'm not a trained plumber, essentially.
Right.
I work in the office. I worked in a builder's merchant after uni, which again was well out of my comfort zone. I'm not the most practical person. I'm not a sort of a laddish lad. So going into an environment where you're working with actual builders coming in. But as it turns out, I met a lot of great people through that, a lot of friends who I know now. And from the back of that, the company I now work for, my boss met him at the time, or he dealt with me several times, and then said, we'd like you to come for us. And a lot more variety. Didn't have to work Saturdays, more time in the garden. Great for me. And it's something where just due to my, we'll say, just natural competencies and ability to be relatively organised and deal with a wide range of people, it's something that sort of suited me since and evolved since then. So nothing to do with gardening whatsoever, but it's all skills, isn't it?
Yeah, totally.
But you carried your photography through, and then you married that up with your love of gardening as a hobby, and this is how the YouTube channel evolved.
Yeah, essentially. So probably the missing link I should explain there is with my photography, as much as I did my things at uni, with my own photography, it was very much go out into the countryside. I went to the University of York, so there's some beautiful countryside around, and just have a walk with the camera. So most of my shots were just literally walks out into nature, plants, wildlife, birds, all the sort of hares and deer and everything. And that's something which after uni, whenever I went on holidays, it was always go to the Lake District, enjoy gardens, take my camera around these places. So it was very much a way that I kept my, I guess, love of nature, plants alive, even when I wasn't necessarily growing a lot of plants myself. And looking back, that thread was always running through. So it was a very natural progression to then have a rental house where we can literally plant what we want in the ground here. There's ground, not just windowsills, actual real soil. And then it was, hang on a second, I can now create something which I can photograph when I don't necessarily have the time to go off on a 2-hour ramble or whatever. I can photograph the things outside my own back door, which very neatly led to wanting a larger garden. And rather than just growing the plants I like, can I put them together in a way where one day, eventually in the far distant future, I can have a garden which looks nice as a wider picture rather than just the details. And it's very much what I led from it. So everything comes together with hindsight, doesn't it? You see all the different strands. So very natural process. But actually doing the videos, being in front of the camera, is something so alien to me. It's something which it's definitely not natural. Being behind the camera, filming a little walk around, to then actually being in front of the camera, it does take a lot of doing it. And there was days where it's like I could literally spend an hour before I even filmed the first bit just trying to get in the right sort of mindset and get it to sound right. But like with everything, it is just literally practice. It's a simple practice and consistency, isn't it?
You saying it doesn't feel natural really surprises me. I thought you had some sort of media background looking at your YouTube channels.
Oh, no.
Because it's so natural, so easy. And I haven't looked at where you've come from with it to where you are now. I've seen just more recent ones. And I watched one on bamboo, actually, because a friend of ours had some bamboo and I was sort of freaking out, worrying that it was the sort of runners type rather than the clumping. And so I Googled your video on that, and it was such a well explained video. Really genuinely a well explained video where it was educational, informative, and told me everything I needed to know. So I can genuinely recommend your YouTube channel videos.
Thank you.
I think it's a proper, it's proper journalism.
I wouldn't say that myself, but yes, yeah. Thank you.
This is a professional channel set up.
I think probably the two things I'd say to that. The first one is when I first started and did a lot of my earlier, very, very dry, but we'll say information-filled videos on Tech Japan Acts, whatever Scheffler is, my amount of notes was ridiculous. Like I said, I'm quite a logical person. I don't mean that as I'm not saying it's a positive thing or it's, something I'm just naturally amazing at, but it's just the way I see things.
Yeah. You like lists?
I find it easy. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, to put things down.
I love a list.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Good Excel spreadsheet.
Only for doing videos. The rest of my life is very chaotic and disorganized, but I find it very easy, possibly while at uni and school, to get the right marks, because I could literally see something and go, this is what you need to do to get these marks. Let's get it done. But I found it very easy to structure lots of my earlier videos. For the past 2 or 3 years, there's been very little structuring, literally just maybe 3 or 4 bullet points on my phone. So I think part of the learning is being able to completely wing it while still staying quite tight to what you need to say. And that's definitely a skill that I've had to build up, because I don't have the time now to stand in my garden for a full day just to create one video in the most structured way possible.
Yeah.
And the second thing I would say is, and I don't mean this as a negative way towards anyone else, but gardening as a whole on YouTube is quite a bit behind a lot of other genres. If in terms of, if you look at, say, technology, photography, things like that, there's photography especially because everyone filming has got their own camera, and it essentially the standards are pushed so high in terms of people's videos need to be polished, to the point, direct, look beautiful, amazing sounds and everything. Whereas for me, I saw that gardening had a real opportunity to just start off, not be afraid to be. There's not a huge amount of people, especially 4 or 5 years ago, that were doing what I'm doing now. There's a lot more now, and the standard is so amazing. There's so many great creators out there. But for me, I'm pleased that I got in when I did, and it gave me a real chance to learn, because everything you're doing is public. Everything you're learning is a very sort of, it's not like Gardener's World where where there's presenters that have spent 20 years refine themselves to this point with something that's then very tightly edited. They've got weeks to put it together. I know there's obviously a lot more times when they have to wing it as well, but everything is public. So what you're seeing now is very much 250 videos of me gradually learning, improving, getting over any sort of issues about filming that I might have had, and just naturally learning to structure things better. So
evolution.
Thank you.
I mean, it's much more personal having your own YouTube channel than it is being a presenter on Gardener's World.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, entirely.
People come to YouTube for that raw, original. I use the word authentic. I know it's overused, but it is real people sharing real things. And sometimes what I've seen in other genres, people can get too classy and polished and stylized to the point where it's like, it is essentially TV, just in a different format. And I think sometimes people come for those, they want to see a bit of reality. I mean, in my garden now, I went from a couple of years ago not wanting to do a garden tour for most of summer because there was too many weeds, to now they're literally just part of it. It's like, I'll just film because this is my time to film. I'm going to film. And it's as simple as
it's
that.
There.
Exactly, yeah. There's no point pretending it isn't. Obviously, with a podcast, I can say the garden is pristine now. I can describe a beautiful tropical landscape without any weeds whatsoever.
Exactly.
I should have gone with that, shouldn't I? I've messed up here.
It looked on Gardener's World.
Exactly. We're saying it's like that now, but even better. It's a dream. It's like Madeira bottled down into my North Lincolnshire plot.
Okay,
well, I think we should have a look at your dream garden, George.
Yes.
So I'll hand you over to Sweet Pea, and she'll take you through it.
Righty-ho. Garden boundary. What will be surrounding your dream garden?
Right, okay. I'd like to say I've got quick, snappy answers to all these, but probably my answer to this one and a lot of the others is, for me, a garden isn't something, even in a dream garden, you can't just say it has this element and this element. There has to be something which isn't planned, something which is natural, something which is... All the best gardens you go to, it's not because it's a garden, it's because it's sat in a landscape or it has some sort of natural features or a lot of age to it. There's something which isn't intentional.
That's very true.
Something that's either decayed, changed, or been influenced by things outside of human control. So I think for me, that came out more eloquently than I ever envisaged, but I've obviously got some brief notes written down. So I guess
it was very poetic.
For me, what I've got down is brick and stone. I love old materials. Anyone who watches my channel, it's not something I talked about a lot, but I love huge boulders, which I struggle to lift. Really old sleepers, which again I struggle to lift, and just like York stone, lumps of stone that have got wear and character and distress
different shapes,
and patina.
sizes. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And most of my garden is a proper mix of stuff, which the only real link between it all is its age and distress, really.
Yeah.
And I just love that kind of working with that, and especially with the jungle garden, it fits so well with that kind of vibe, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So what I'd say in a dream garden would have to be some element of a walled garden. I do love the idea of a walled garden. That I love where formality meets a sort of loose, naturalistic informality. But I think having a wall which would have some mixture of like an old brick, real traditional handmade 2-inch brick to be specific. I'm just trying to give you some of your show notes here, give you plenty of unnecessary detail. And I would have to have a lot of lumps of old York stone and big old stone troughs, things like that. And then also a lot of really old timber. You know, like at Great Dixter, where you see these barns. I've not actually been there, but I've only seen pictures where you see barns and structures with timber that looks like centuries old. It just looks beautiful.
Yeah.
But what I've decided is I wouldn't like that to go around the whole garden. I wouldn't literally like a walled garden, because essentially I'd be creating a sort of Victorian tropical type paradise.
Oh, right.
I think I would like more of some natural element blocking the others. So it'd either be a stream, something like that, where you've got no visual boundary, but it stops the garden where it stops.
Okay. I like that. Yeah. And so you kind of have that vista,
like it goes down
beyond.
To a stream. So like at Treba, where you go down to the beach and you've got the sea and a beach and an ice cream hut. I mean, what more could you want from a garden? Having something like that.
It's an ice cream hut.
It's very nice.
I think more recently, Dan Pearson, his garden's massively inspirational for me. And just the way he sort of works in, this is where the garden is, and it flows into a pond or like a wood or something like that. Just like a big rocky outcrop, something that's not. What I'm basically saying is I can't define what all the four boundaries would be, but I'm happy to roll with dice and just let nature give me something that when you see it, you think,
natural.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that a lot.
But if you had to choose between wood, sea, a stream, what if you were sitting in your garden looking out on this vista that's created by this natural boundary, what would you prefer to be looking at? Or do you want all of the above? So you'd have woodland
definitely
over
all
here,
the above.
you'd have the sea in front and a stream running into the stream over there.
I like the idea of like an old Victorian style walled garden that's either naturally sort of decaying, falling apart a little bit, but then leading to a more natural vista, which might be made up of rocks, sea, streams, or all of the above. A little waterfall thrown in for good measure.
Yeah.
Bit of everything.
Okay.
My friend Mark, who I visited, Mark's Crazy Tiki Garden, my little video series, he's got a garden and he's now bought a quarry out the back. You would never choose a quarry for a garden, but when you go there, and he's talked about his plans for a huge pond at the bottom of it, when you realise you've got all this slope to plant up, the sort of planting possibilities of huge slopes, ravines, stuff like that, it would have to be something natural like that that you can then build on and work with your own gardening, rather than literally a square plot with brick walls around all sides. That's what I'm saying.
I understand. Okay.
I like that.
All right, so we've also thrown a quarry in, but we'll
I guess what I'm saying is I'm giving a lot of words to basically saying I'm happy to roll the dice and let nature give me what it gives me, as long as it's got a wall at some point.
You don't care. No, I understand.
I completely get it. And just kind of having this tumbling wall, I do like. We went to a garden actually the other day, and they had this old tumbling kind of, I think it was like a little chapel, or what was it?
Yeah, like a little chapel, Cerny. It had a miniature house.
Sunny house.
Right.
Yeah. We went the other day, and I really liked having these kind of decaying bricks and stone. It was stone, actually, not bricks. And it was all decaying, and there was kind of ivy coming over and little ferns and little cracks. And I thought it was really, really pretty. And just, I love the naturalness and how nature was just like, okay, we'll take over now.
Figuring its way out.
Have you ever, question for you, have you ever been to Pan Global Plants? Nick Mace's
no, we want to go.
No, but we've had it recommended by 2 people on our Chit-Chats.
Definitely go. The garden there, it's essentially a walled garden, and he'll tell you exactly what the buildings are, but all kinds of beautiful structures in the outside of the garden. You go through a wood to get to it, and everything. It's a plant nursery with a garden at the end of the day, but the surroundings, that sort of feeling of age, that feeling of like it's a really established place. You get to see a bit of everything. to me, it just makes it so much more than a garden centre next to a car park, like you see everywhere else. And
I just thought that's what it was. I didn't know there was a garden element.
No, there is. Yeah, hugely. It's really impressive. It's essentially a mixture of exotics and then more sort of flowing, looser, naturalistic, perennial type planting, grasses. There's a bit of all sorts.
Fantastic!
But it's just a beautiful place to go to, and it's that way of, if you were describing your ideal plant nursery, whether it's a visit or to own or to run or whatever, you wouldn't choose all those elements, but when you see it all come together, it is absolutely, I can see why it's his dream, and it would be for a lot of, us plant people as well.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, we must put that on the list, Sweet Pea.
Yeah.
Well, back to the dream garden. Would you like a shed or a greenhouse, if you had to choose?
I've sort of gone 360 with this one. I started off definitely greenhouse, because if you like growing plants, particularly tender exotic plants, you need a greenhouse, not just a spring one for winter as well. And so I started off with that, and then I actually got thinking, if I could have my dream garden, as much as a greenhouse is a practical necessity, it can be a beautiful thing as well. Having a shed is very much a sort of a man's thing, isn't it? It's just, there's a lot of men. We
like our sheds.
Well, it's in our sort of patriarchy, right or wrong as it is, a man's shed is a man's domain, isn't it? Outside in the garden. At the minute, I've only got this tiny little brick shed, which is used as a dumping ground for old stuff. So I don't really have that shed where I can enjoy. It'd be nice to have, rather than being basically sat in a cupboard, which I'm at the minute. You can't see it from your screens, but rather than having this, it'd be nice to have a proper little studio type thing, one of these garden rooms, bit of luxury.
Oh, lovely.
Everything in there. But
that's a good idea.
But then I've gone back in that and decided it would have to be the greenhouse. I just think you can always do other stuff inside.
Yeah.
But a greenhouse does what a greenhouse does. Yeah. So I think what I'd go for is, and this is what I want to do here at our house one day, build a greenhouse, a bit of a lean-to type one. So it's very, very tall at the back, handy for really big plants, get them over winter and everything. But it would have to have some kind of stone base. So it would either have raised beds built up of old stone around it to help, trap the heat in, and also provide somewhere for cannas, gingers, plants like that to grow, or some kind of trough-like water features running around the outside. So
nice.
Definitely something that's linked in with the structure of the boundaries.
Yeah.
But I guess it wouldn't be modern. It wouldn't be completely traditional. Somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
But have a bit of personality to it.
What sort of size then?
Well, that's obviously a tricky question to ask any gardener, isn't it? Because obviously, whatever size you say, it is going to be full. So I think for my own sanity, we'll say medium sized, something that's grand but manageable. Very tall, definitely very tall.
Yeah,
but not sort of. If I said something, we'll say 6 by 3 or 4 meters would keep me.
Keep you happy.
Yeah, that's a nice size.
Would you want to be able to sit in it? Do you want a little seat in there? And
it sounds like a great idea. But we'll possibly go to 8 by 4 meters. You've persuaded me. Just to have enough room for a seat in it for those winter days, because I think a lot of us gardeners, especially, we have this idealized vision of the scenes where autumn is crisp days, orange leaves against blue skies, winter again, frost on grass and beautiful hoarfrost, clear days, but it's never like that. It's very rarely like that. There's so many days where it's just drizzle, and it'd be nice to sit somewhere. And eventually, once I've finished all my projects, pottering is going to be my hobby of choice. I'm just going to move over to just one of the people that can just choose a job, do a job, have something that looks nice and enjoy it.
I love pottering. They're my favourite garden jobs, are the pottering ones.
I'm looking forward to it one day. Yes.
Yeah, I hear you, George.
I think a greenhouse has to be part of that, somewhere to potter when the weather's not suitable outside.
So maybe a little wood burner in there?
Potentially something along those lines, yes.
Put your kettle on the top.
You could do that for the full experience, the full hipster ambience, a little whistling kettle.
Entirely.
Given your love for all the tropical plants, would your dream garden be in North Lincolnshire, or would it be somewhere tropical?
I can say it wouldn't be tropical. As much as I enjoy exotic, unusual plants, I do enjoy a lot of more traditional herbaceous plants, a lot of perennials and other grasses and a lot of more natural plants like that. And for me, I absolutely love the seasons, despite the issues they cause for us gardeners. I wouldn't want to live anywhere other than the UK.
What would be 5 favourite ornamentals to have?
Right. What I will say is 5 is very tricky. So
it's tiny. I know.
But you have to choose. I listened to Wayne's episode in preparation for this.
Oh yes,
because exactly. Yeah, I was expecting him to have very similar exotic choices, and he fully went for it. So some of mine overlap a little bit. But what I've gone for, firstly, Jubea chilensis, which is a Chilean wine palm. I've got two of them in the garden. One that I've grown from seeds, 2 that were bought larger because they're so slow growing. Mm-hmm. For me, I think they're just one of those plants that it sort of summarises that whole larger than life thing. They've got trunks that get to probably about 1.5 meters across. They're very sort of squat looking while they're small. They just look. They're one of those things you can see a picture of it and think, that's an unusual looking, like a big column or like an elephant's leg with a palm on the top. But when you actually see them in person, they've just got such a presence, such a sort of stature to them. But they can take a lot of years to grow. And the largest ones are down in Torquay. I went to see them. They're in a private garden, so it was like a sort of just peering around the gate columns at them. But they've been there for over like 100 years. They're very, very old.
Wow.
But I think in a dream garden, they are probably my favourite cold hardy palm. They're a feather palms. They're very, very long, ornate leaves. I just think they've got such a... It's not beauty necessarily, but when you go to the national parks in Chile and you can see them growing, en masse, they look really sensational.
It's a real presence. And you're growing them from seed, you said?
One I've grown from seed, which I sowed the seed back in 2016.
How big's that now?
I planted out this spring from a 70-litre pot, so they're not as slow as you might think, but it depends on your expectations. You need to look in terms of decades rather than just years. But it's definitely my favourite palm. It's one that I planted here. And what I've tried to do with these choices is have them rooted in reality, rather than literally choosing 5 ornamentals that are completely out there. I quite like the idea of having something which is just about possible, because for me that's part of the challenge and the excitement of actually growing it.
That palm, what kind of fruit does it grow?
They have a very small, essentially like the actual wine comes from draining the trunks, I believe. So it's something that's harvested.
Almost like maple syrup.
I believe so. Yes. Yeah.
Interesting. And is it a datey type palm, or is it like a
coconut? No, they're more like a round ball, essentially. Right. So we'll say like a datey type thing. Yeah. They're in clusters like dates. I don't actually know. I couldn't tell you on that one. So again, the lack of professional horticultural training is showing itself now. But I imagine you can eat anything if you're brave enough, can't you? They don't say that in garden as well, but it's true.
At least once.
Yeah.
So personally, it's purely that ornamental value. I just think they're such amazing plants, and irrespective of any other sort of benefits they bring to humankind, I just like the way they look, and that is why I choose it, because this is ornamentals, isn't it?
Well, absolutely.
And we can have some really old ones as well. That way, you have the
exactly factor. I think that's the sort of dream element. The fact that I could have something which, in my lifetime, they'll probably go from being the ones that I've got larger. I'm now showing you the size of about a football, something like that, and they'll probably grow to be essentially like a water butt size thing. That's probably what they'll do in 20, 30 years. So another 20 years, and they'll maybe be a couple of meters tall, about a meter or so wide. But you really need 50, 100 years. So when they're literally towering palms, but hugely wide, like large sort of columns on a Colosseum type thing.
Yeah. That sounds incredible.
My next choice, I've gone for Bismarckia nobilis, which I don't know if it's one that Wayne chose or that he mentioned as a cheeky 6th choice, which I won't be doing today. I won't be exploiting it.
Thanks.
Bismarckias are just one of the most amazing palms I think you can grow. They're not possible here in the UK, so I am pushing the climate side of things a bit. When we went on holiday recently to Portugal, there was a golf area full of people who enjoy golf, and that's how they're chosen to spend their retirements, each to their own. I won't comment on them.
Judging, are you?
Not at all. No. I think it's a fantastic way to be outside and enjoy physical activity. But they have some very affluent houses in the area nearby, a beautiful sort of sprawling neighbourhood of grand design type houses. And two of the gardens had these Bismarckias in them. And when you see them, they're a palmate leaf, so like a Trachycarpus with like a fan type leaf, like a hand.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But they're so much bigger. They're possibly, if I said, about 1.5 meters, 2 meters across each leaf, and the colour of them, they're a very ghostly white colour. So like Miss Wilmot's ghost, they're like that kind of colour. Yeah,
right.
So I like that colour.
Yeah, Now, I would probably only have one or two of them because in my mind, when you go to these gardens which I haven't been to, Singapore gardens by the bay, place like that, they use these like they're just like bedding plants and they're everywhere. Right. And to me, that sort of diminishes it. It's not just because you can do something. To me, it would be if I could put the amount of effort in to get something like this to grow, just having one in somewhere where it's unexpected would be
it's the wow factor.
Yeah. Again, it's that sort of larger than life. When you see them, you think they look pretty in a picture, but up close, and you realise that the leaf stalks are bigger than like a man's arm. It's just incredible.
It sounds incredible, but if you were having a realistic garden, could they not survive in your greenhouse?
No, they're a step too. Potentially, there's something like if the greenhouse was tall enough, it has to be a growing greenhouse like something like Harry Potter, but
like a palm house.
A palm house, potentially, yes. There's no chance of them surviving in the UK, even with all the care you could realistically give them. But something like a palm house with an adjoining greenhouse. Go on, let's have that added in as well.
Oh, what, the palm house?
Yeah, you might as well. You
might as well.
I'm open to.
You might have a palm house as your greenhouse choice.
I still, even in my dream thing, I've still got sort of practical limitations and realities, which possibly I need to expand my mind and actually really sort of dream big. But I like the idea of something that I could keep on top of, enjoy the pottering around and enjoy being there and seeing it grow, instead of the idea of having a full-on palm house like at Edinburgh or something that would need such like maintenance all the way through the no.
So this palm, do you know of its existence at all in the UK in any of the palm houses, or for example the Isle of Wight, Ventnor, when they're not dropping below freezing? I
believe it's a step too far even for them.
Really?
And I did have a small one. I tried to overwinter in a polytunnel and
not happening.
Past tense. So it didn't make it.
I
think it's more than just the temperatures, and
so it's hours of light.
Exactly
so
that.
So nearer the equator, really.
Exactly that. If you were to have a Mediterranean dream garden, for example, they would thrive there. They would enjoy the elevated light levels throughout winter, the lack of precipitation, grey, drizzly, misty fog that we get most of the time.
Right.
But in a dream garden, I would like to have a palm there. I enjoy growing them. I think they've got that real sort of unique, larger than life look to them, and that would be my choice. It's a bit out there.
That sounds beautiful.
Great. Brilliant. What are the next 3 ornamentals?
So, conscious of time, so I'll keep these short, but they are equally exciting. So the first one will be Cythia medullaris, which is the black tree fern. You might come across them.
Yes. Gorgeous.
They are amazing things. You can grow these in Cornwall. There's an amazing one down at Tremenhere Sculpture Gardens, which is, to give you an idea, there's definitely a theme running through these choices of being big, oversized, slightly monstrous looking, cool things.
Very cool.
The Cythia, the leaves get probably longer than a couple of meters long. Like the fronds, should I say, they're more than a couple of meters long. The actual fronds themselves, the stems or stalks, they can get to, again, like the size of like an arm, a man or lady's arm. To add some detail. Really huge things, and they're the darkest black colour, so they just look so. It's just so unnatural. In the same way the Bismarckia is like a ghostly white pale plant.
Well, it's lovely to have that contrast, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely there's an entirely intentional contrast there of both ends of the colour spectrum, definitely, and both like very large. So my next 2, I've gone firstly Gunnera.
Yeah,
because
so these are all massive plants.
Exactly, there's a reason why I've ended up with if you call it a jungle garden, you can get away with just huge plants and having to push through them all, can't you? It's an excuse, not a design choice. I love Gunnera. It's my favourite plant. I was obsessed with it when I was younger. Just, again, it's that the fact you can have something with a leaf that looks superficially like a tree, like a sycamore maybe, but then like a 50 times the size, or something like that looks like our natural perennial type weeds, but just supersized.
On huge size.
Absolutely love them for that. And
that's a good point.
For them, it's as much as I like the finished result, but now in the garden, mine are about full size for the year. And at this point, they just end up getting a little bit dry or battered by the winds, and they're sort of past they just tick over until autumn essentially. But for me, it's like seeing them grow in spring. a lot of exotics don't change a huge amount through the seasons when it comes to the evergreens and the palms and things. So something like a gunner, which you can literally almost see growing.
Yeah.
You know, the little hands.
Ooh,
no one can see what I'm doing now, thank God. But you can literally see
little hands
these little hands unfurling to the sky and then getting over your height in just a month or so.
They are mad plants.
That's really exceptional. And again,
do you have any concern about it being invasive in your garden?
I wasn't going to go there with this being a dream garden, and
no, okay.
But obviously, given my irresponsible placing of a stream at the bottom, it would have to be a concern. I know we need to be Gardeners World and DEFRA friendly on this podcast, don't we?
Yeah.
So, personally, I would say I haven't got a concern because I don't think the hybrid, or at least the one I grow, produces viable seeds. I think it's sterile.
Okay.
I think it's something they're going to look at in more detail, and I don't have the scientific or botanical background to give anything more than just a sort of knee-jerk response. That I don't think it's as simple as because they've got some tinctoria invasive genes in them, they are necessarily invasive. But in this garden, I would have a big patch of them, do their thing near water, so that they're watered every day, and just enjoy them for what they are, irrespective of practical and environmental considerations.
Absolutely. Well then, what's the final ornamental?
The final ornamental I've gone for, again, I stuck with the exotic theme. I thought if we're going for it, might as well go for it. I've gone for Yucca linearifolia, or linearis, which is one that I've got in my garden. I don't know if you're familiar with Yucca rostrata, are you? The ones that look... No.
The ones that look what? Because I'm familiar with yucca. We've got a few yuccas, but I couldn't tell you what they are.
So the yuccas that you might be familiar with are probably gloriosa, where they've got quite wide leaves, pointy ends, dark green. Occasionally you get yellow splashed ones or yellow streaks on leaves. Yucca rostratas, there's a lot of South American yuccas which are a lot finer in their appearance, and the rostrata, it essentially it creates like a globe on a trunk, so it's a trunk in yucca, and it's a globe of these spiky leaves. It looks, if you had to basically imagine like a plant firework, like just frozen with all these sort of little spikes. That's
lovely.
That's what a rostrata is. Linearifolia, or linearis, is like a more refined version of the same thing.
Okay.
Linearifolia, it's very neat. The leaves are very, very stiff, completely wind resistant. You could have a tornado go through your garden and it'd still be sat there. And they just look beautiful. Yeah. Everything else would be gone, but at least that's still
at least it is still there.
Yes, I'd have that in my greenhouse space one side in the walls and everything else would be gone. But they're just one of those plants that you could put loads of uplighters on them if you're that kind of person and enjoy all the different colours and everything. You can enjoy it, as I do, just when the sun dips down below a certain point, you can see it backlit or in the morning light. They're just such an exquisite looking plant that I know people say like sculptural and structural and all these words, and often those words are a bit of an offence to the plants, really, because the plants are they're the things, aren't they? They're not human creation, but I think it's one of the most beautiful ornamental plants you can grow to very firmly tick that box.
I will be looking
at what sort
of
height is that getting to?
Height-wise, they do eventually form a trunking specimen, and they're again more slow growing. I think in time they're probably 3-4 meters tall.
Right.
It's a plant that comes from the sort of Mediterranean dry parts of the world, as a very sort of generalist statement. So they do grow quite slowly. They conserve a lot of the moisture because of their thin leaves, the glaucous, blue sort of silver colouring. But I just think whatever height they are, even from the minute they form a sort of a globe at ground level, and then as they go up, they just look truly sort of
lovely,
different, unique, and something you could pair with a lot of the unnamed plants, because I'm only given 5 choices. A lot of whatever style you want to go around it, which might fluctuate and change and vary over time. If you want to have herbaceous plants, grasses, a more flowing mixture. If you want to have sedums, if you want to have like eryngiums and echinops and all those kind of plants, they fit in so well and give a real sort of like statement, sort of focal point for that sort of border, I think.
Well then, what is going to be 5 edible plants for the
Right.
garden?
With these, I've gone very literally. I know some people, I won't mention Wayne by name, some people use this as a chance to crowbar more ornamentals in, just purely because in some regions of the world they are technically edible.
Yeah.
I'm playing by the rules here. I'm responsible. First thing, an apple tree. Just because we've got one in our garden at the minute. For that one time a year when you get crumbles in autumn, those apples came from your own tree. You don't need to do anything to make those apples happen. it's not like tomatoes where you spend about 300 quid to get a little punnet of tomatoes and then hope for some more. Those apple trees just do the thing.
So true, George.
The actual trees that you just get stuff off and you don't have to do anything. So for that, they have to be in there. You get so much food. And there's something, again, it probably says a lot about the way I think, but there's something reassuring about getting actual kilos of fruit off a tree. Like it's like a real weighty reward from nature.
Yep.
You're not just literally growing these palms. Again, I will reference Wayne here. Growing palms for dates, growing it 20 years to get a handful of dates. I'm sure they're beautiful, but I'd rather be sick because I've eaten crumble for 2 weeks, but I had it to be the most beautiful crumble from my garden.
Dates every 50 years.
Exactly.
Okay,
yeah.
I get your point.
I might come back to the dates though, just to give you a little glimpse.
So, what kind of apple tree are you going to have?
Absolutely no idea. I'm open to
just an apple tree.
What I would
you can
say,
make a good crumble from.
Yeah,
exactly that. Yeah.
I mean, how much crumble do you eat?
Not a huge amount, in fairness, which is why it's still the dream to have more than I could possibly eat. Otherwise, I would have changed my mind. If this podcast was happening in mid-September, I might say just one very small, one of those low-growing apple trees you can walk over to make 3 apples a year.
Over. But because we have an apple tree and we have plum trees, and we get that whole thing where it's that lovely bountiful feeling of going out with huge baskets and just filling it like the plums, just chucking them all in, and then suddenly you've got kilos of plums, and you're wondering, what am I going to do with these? So then we sit there pitting all the plums, chopping them in half and freezing them, which is great. But then equally with apples and plums, aside from crumble, I make kind of a plum thing with pastry. What else are you doing with them?
Who knows?
Exactly.
I mean, I could tell that you're a seasoned gardener as well, View, because the way you worded that, I was there with you. In my mind, I was there. I'm at a point where I can just enjoy my garden, just gently walk around the garden, picking these apples. I was really there. But for me, it was just, there's something about the tactile just action of picking them from a tree, having to think, I need another bag now for these because there's so many apples. Even if you have to give half them away to people in the village you can't actually stand.
This is what we do.
Doesn't matter.
All the neighbours get bags full
whether they want
of
them or
plums
not,
and
it's
apples.
their
I don't even know if they like them. We had one we gave them to, and they were away for 2 weeks. So when they came back, it was just this rotten bag, wasp-infested slush.
Yeah, like a
outside their
wasp
door.
One. Yeah. Well, so that's the level of apple that I want. I think.
Okay.
Whilst you explained it a lot more beautifully than I did, we both wanted excessive apples and more crumble and other apple-based food that we could possibly eat. So
my only issue is I'm limited in terms of what I can make with apples and plums.
Likewise, I've only mentioned crumble, but that shouldn't stop you wanting it.
Crumble, just a lot of it. Good choice.
Just a lot of crumble. My next choice is rhubarb. For reasons that you might be able to guess, I do like rhubarb.
Are we talking a rhubarb crumble?
Potentially, yes. I do like stewed rhubarb crumble, obviously fantastic.
We heard a new recipe, actually, for rhubarb. We had Adam Jones from Wales. We had him on for a chit-chat, and he chose rhubarb, and then he told us about making cordial or sort of a rhubarb beer. He was making not even, I don't think it was a rhubarb wine, or maybe it was a rhubarb wine, but anyway, that seemed a better use.
Something that I want to mention now, we went to a restaurant which was far nicer than we would ever normally afford to go to, called Roots at York, and it was amazing. For Christmas we got the present of like I think they call it a Sunday feast. So it's essentially like a Sunday dinner, but really nice food and a lot quantity and quality, both very definitely chipped.
Lovely.
It was beautiful.
Perfect.
And one of the drinks there, everything fits in with this grown and brewed from their garden, cooked and baked. And one of the drinks was rhubarb cordial, I want to say. Okay. And at first, I was a little bit, when I read through the menu, a little bit skeptical because you think a lot of these hipster type places like to put some botanical ingredient in there, don't they? So then it suddenly becomes, this is now twice the price of like your orange juice, but it's got this in it, and you can go, I can taste the thyme. But no, this was a genuinely tart, not overly sweet, but something that I could definitely drink if I had an excess of rhubarb in the garden.
Okay.
What I will
Sounds
temper
lovely.
this by saying is that we went to Clumber House, where I believe they've got the national collection of rhubarb, and they've got around 400 varieties, and as amazing and beautiful and well kept as they were, that did very little for me. Right. But if I have to give an edible choice, having at least a couple of rhubarb plants in there, for me, it's something to look forward to every year, every autumn time or summer or whenever. Just another crumble, isn't it?
And also, it is rather ornamental, isn't it? It's a very pretty plant, and it fits. With
You're saying that rather than me. I'm playing by the rules, but yes,
yeah. So, big leaves, colourful stems.
A lot of people in the tropical style, genre or style of gardening, they do grow rhubarb for that reason. Very colourful stems, big leaves. None of the potential invasive issues of gunner, easy to get hold of, and you can obviously eat them as well. But I think I'd definitely have them in a separate sort of more kitchen type garden rather than part of my board that I'd just dig up and
So your kitchen garden, you imagine, is it walled off as well with a nice
go for it?
You're having a Victorian wall, weren't you?
I think near the greenhouse, quite traditional.
Yeah.
I just, as much as people say you can grow flowers for cutting and plants for eating in your borders, I don't like the idea of chopping up a border before it's, I want it to look as good as it possibly can. I've just got some sort of mental block for doing it. So separate.
I get that. Right, next 3 edibles.
The next 3, I will go for, firstly, pumpkin.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
giant pumpkin, properly, is it Dill's Atlantic Giant? One you had to grow under, just basically, I want to grow a pumpkin, that, again, following the theme of every other plant this year, that's so big that I need a forklift to move the pumpkins. Just for that. Obviously, pumpkin pie, I can take it or leave it. Nice bit of spice, beautiful thing to enjoy. Carving them, fantastic. All the kids are like that. But it is mainly just about that one, literally that Instagram picture of
you don't care. You don't want more than one, just one huge.
Oh yeah.
Will you take it to some local vegetable show? And
I think it would just have to stay where it was because it'd be that big.
Too big.
It was just like, I've grown this. I don't know what to do with it, but I've carved a face in it.
There needs to be a forklift truck in this garden as well.
Okay.
Obviously, there has to be access to the greenhouse.
Completely.
The next choice I've gone for is very firmly in line with Wayne's, and that is the Dwarf Cavendish banana. This is one where I am bending the rules. It is a bit ornamental, but it's that idea of a plant which we know of as ornamental here actually producing real fruit. So nothing more botanical than that. Just the idea of if you're going to go in your garden and pick one fruit and eat it there and then.
Oh, so
I think
cool,
a banana or a
citrus
citrus it would just be a real sort of.
That would make me very happy if
treat.
I could pick.
That would be quite fun actually.
And it's when you see them as well, and they literally machete them off and get this huge, great big bunch of bananas. That's
amazing.
Yeah, I don't. There's probably a technical term for them, but yes,
I don't know.
Obviously, I wouldn't pick them. I would just have one every time I went out in the garden, and not develop some sort of potassium issues. But and my last choice, again, just to contradict what I said earlier, it would be dates because I do genuinely like dates.
Hey, there we go.
But I would appreciate their sort of their own brand of sweetness because I've been full of apples by that point. I won't want to see an apple ever again. But I do just like dates really. So as a treat to look forward to, once I've munched away through the rest of the apples and rhubarb and everything, that'll be a nice little treat.
Dates are great. We
Sounds
eat dates
good.
regularly. There's lots of nutrition in a date. And a good way for sweetening things. We put them in smoothies to sweeten smoothies.
We seem to be in a time where they can market lots of bars as like healthy versions of like, you know what I'm saying?
That's your sugar is the date.
Like branded ones, and they just make them out of dates and nuts smashed together. And they're all amazing. They all taste fantastic, don't they? So,
they do taste amazing.
Definitely those to round off that.
Well then, you said you loved trees when you were younger.
Yes.
So what is going to be your statement tree for the dream garden?
So this is again one where it's such you've cut the 5 down to 1, haven't you? And it suddenly becomes very tricky. There's lots of trees that I enjoy growing now, such as eucalyptus, which are amazing. I love the exotic looks of how fast they grow, etc., etc.
So fast.
But if I could only ever choose one tree, I don't think they would quite make the list.
No.
What I've gone for, again, it's so tricky because it's what do you grow a tree for? Do you grow it for the actual structure that it gives? Do you grow it for autumn colour? Do you grow it for just the bark interest? Do you grow it for shade? What I've decided is if this is a dream garden in some sort of dream world where I'm obviously living for a long time anyway, kept healthy by all my apples and everything,
of course,
it would have to be a giant redwood.
Wow.
The Sequoiadendron giganteum.
Yeah, great idea.
I just think out of every tree, something that you could plant and through your multiple lifetimes see going from a huge overgrown Lelandii type thing up to being like the ones that we see in most stately homes, and then going on to that next stage of being something the size of a bus at the base. I just think, again, there's a very over large theme that potentially a psychiatrist would look into a bit further. But I think, just as a tree, if you could live an indefinite amount of time, something to enjoy.
Yeah.
Originally, my choices were either an oak or one of those, and then I decided that an oak, as great as they are for wildlife and everything, they sort of, you see, there's quite a lot of large oaks around here as it is, but there's not many of those. And when you see one, when you can touch it up close, and they're just sensational things.
I understand that. I mean, I love the oak, absolutely love it, and who doesn't love an oak?
It's a beautiful tree.
To see a giant redwood just there.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I'm imagining
Full
your dream
size
garden smaller than perhaps you're imagining it. So I'm just seeing this massive tree.
You know, when you drive around and you see some in people's gardens, and at some point someone thought that'd be a nice little plant there about 80 years ago, and now it is the garden.
Just dominates.
There's no grass around it because it's really to take up the whole garden.
It's pulling up the foundations of the house.
It's something like that, but you know, you can build a house, can't you? You can't change a tree that age, can you? So, I was tempted to say either a dawn redwood or Japanese maples. I've got loads of other choices I won't bore you with now, but if I had to choose one, which you're saying I do, it would have to be giant redwood, because they're just amazing living things, aren't they?
Just fantastic. The ultimate dream, of course, would be to have an arboretum and just have every type of tree there. Wouldn't that be
is the dream?
Of course. Spend your days walking around that.
I think that's where any gardener, if you were given unlimited space, as many in the past were, you sort of reach a point like at Chatsworth where this is the ornamental garden, this is the pleasure garden or whatever, this is the greenhouse the size of a factory. We now can't look after any more garden, so we've got all this countryside. Let's just plant it with every amazing tree from all around the world, and that would be the ultimate sort of privilege of if you're going to have a meadow, have a field, have a huge landscape full of these. So I'm definitely with you on that. The arboretum. That's essentially what I've actually got written down here. It basically says an arboretum, so I'm cutting it down to a redwood to make it easier for your podcast.
Well, thank you for doing that. We appreciate it.
No problem.
Next question is, would you like a pond or a pool, and what plant would you have in that area?
With this one, I have gone for pond, definitely pond. I would potentially link it into the idea of this natural ravine. I don't know exactly what I'd want, but something like at Chatsworth where there's a real mesh of, we'll say, the local stone, the natural hills that are there, but then a lot of clearly man-moved rocks moved into position. So it's a bit of both.
Right. Yeah.
Something that's very established.
Yeah, like the boundary.
Yeah, definitely. It would have to be something where there's an element that's either natural or looks natural, and they're just pouring into this pond, and potentially that'd be the home for the gunnerer where they would live, and a lot of ground ferns, plants like that. But for me, my plant for that area would have to be the tree with autumn colour, so something like a maple. Yeah. Because again, going back to the photography side of things, something like either a maple or a liquid amber or something like that, where you can see it reflecting in the water. One of those autumn mornings where you've got the sort of fog just lying above the ground and you get that colour reflected in, just for that one reason,
beautiful.
Really. I think that's basically what I'm saying with all my choices. The plant choices might seem a little artificial to the landscape I enjoy, but overall, it's about having what I want in there, but then bigger picture, letting nature do its thing and enjoying. Sure. Like so many of the larger gardens, like your Wisley or Chatsworth and places like that, they can create these vistas on a big scale that you could never do in a normal garden. And it's all about those it's looking at landscape, thinking, I like the way that tree reflects there. And it would just be for me choosing those elements and putting that in a sort of smaller garden setting in a way that gives me everything that I enjoy, whilst also still looking like a garden from the outside. Yeah, which is what I've tried to do here to an extent. But yes.
So do you have a pond in your garden?
Not yet. No. There will be a containerized pond next year. Right. Like so many people on YouTube, I've realised that you have to sell your soul out and be a corporate shill for these. No, I haven't. No, a company got in touch with me and they said
to sponsor you.
Exactly, yeah. And it's on my terms in that it was a product that I was looking at beforehand. Very child friendly, so our daughter will enjoy it. Yeah. And there's absolutely no expectation or obligation on me to create something for it. So if it's got creative control, something that I bought anyway, something that I will enjoy and people who watch my channel will enjoy. So there's going to be a small containerized pond, but then a carrot that I dangled in my more recent videos is, well, potentially there's going to be a larger pond going at some point in the future. But that's a to be watch this space to be continued sort of thing.
So your garden is continuously evolving then.
Yes, yeah, in ways that I want it to, and ways that it just does by itself.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah,
wow,
it's always a battle.
Lovely.
A lot more to come then.
Exactly.
There's more projects lined up than that I can do at the minute. But no,
that's the beauty of gardening, and I guess also if you've got a YouTube channel based around your garden, it's never finished.
Oh no, definitely not. A garden's never finished. But to me, I do also, as much as I enjoy the creating, the playing, the messing around with building of things that you're not entirely qualified or knowledgeable enough to do. I do enjoy that, but I'm also looking forward to a point where the garden is created, we'll say, and then it's developing by itself, and I'm pottering and keeping on top of it.
The pottering part.
Pros and cons to both, isn't there?
When your wife gets her kitchen extension, how much of the garden is going to be nibbled away for that? You're going to lose a large part of it?
When my beautiful wife gets a kitchen extension, she asked me to use the phrase beautiful wife this morning, I think, half in jest, but I can now say I've ticked that box. When she gets the kitchen extension that she deserves, it won't actually, it's basically eating just a bit of the hard landscaping down the side of the house, the patio area. It's not really eating into the garden. And I know. The thing that we would do, at the minute, we've sort of moved in and we bought a house that we could afford, and there's a lot of projects that we'll have to do, as and when we can afford to do them. But we do want to have an open plan kitchen, Velux windows in the top, and then at the end, one of those big bifold doors to look out onto the garden. Nice. So that's the
it gives you a bit of your garden studio vibe as well. Then
exactly. Something like that. Maybe with like a pergola outside or something straight. Just to give it that feel of this outside room that are really trendy and cool.
Oh, that sounds nice.
So there is definitely that for me to look forward to. Was no doubt hemorrhaging money to actually build the kitchen and everything. I'll just walk through to get there.
That's the way it goes. Isn't
yes.
It? You need some more sponsors. You might
just
have to sell yourself.
That's it. Yeah.
Well then, last and final question: what is going to be your favourite seating area, drink, and plant for that area?
So this one, I think, out of all the questions, is actually one that I've written the most for, which I won't even read now because I sort of know vaguely where it's coming from. And it's for me, I don't really sit around in the garden, and
it's hard.
It's easy to think there's so much stuff to do. I enjoy doing things. I don't enjoy. Some people like maintaining, don't they? Some people like we'll say the simple pleasure of cutting grass or trimming an edge or something, or pruning or topiary or
some mindfulness.
They like the mindfulness, and there's a lot to be said for that. Everyone's got their own things that make them tick or distract them or give them the peace that they need. Some people like cleaning the car every weekend. I'm not one of those people.
I would never be able to do that.
Nor am I. Wish I was.
But I'm also not someone that just sits around. Like I was thinking when I was putting this together, and I probably haven't sat in the garden for more than, if I said 5 or 6 hours in the past 5 years. Like that's just.
And was that all for your garden as well segment when they were filming you?
Doing that interview with me stammering and trying to get something out without a dog barking or a plane going over, or they had to send people out to calm the neighbours' dogs down, which I quite liked. It's not me.
Really?
It's Gardeners World. Yeah, they have basically enforcers that go around, and I think they asked nicely once, and luckily it worked. So I didn't get to see the full might of the BBC. What I've sort of come down to is, for me, most of my pleasure in the garden comes from creating something, whether it's planting, building something, or photographing in the garden. That, I suppose, is my mindfulness. To some people that's a complete waste of time, but a lot of my planting is positioned where it is to get the light at a certain time of day, or I want this plant to be backlit so it's going there, irrespective of how it necessarily fits in with the border. But if I was going to have somewhere to sit, tying in with the sort of earlier theme, something over-engineered, very sort of sturdy. I like old timber, oak, so something very sort of rustic but solid. Something like a Great Dixter where it looks like it's been there 150 years.
Yeah.
But you'd still swing from it without any kind of concern that it's going to crack or anything. Something that, with a nice bit of age to it. Not that I'd be planning on doing that, but so something.
So you're talking about a swinging seat?
I guess what I'm sort of saying is a seating area, maybe under a pergola. And maybe with the seating made out the same kind of really over-engineered material. So again, I'll just throw it out there, nice and vague. I don't have any specific dreams about a certain type of chair or a bench. Maybe one of those really cool sort of hanging egg chairs, but one that I'm happy that it'll take my weight.
So you want to be sitting rather than lying, for example? You don't want to be.
I mean, obviously, as we're recording this, I'm laying on my chaise longue eating grapes, live my life of decadent luxury. But outside, I think sitting, because you can sit better with a drink. I couldn't obviously eat apple pie nicely and all my rhubarb cordials whilst laying down.
I have to think about that.
So, yeah, obviously being the gent that I am, I'd have to sit up and, I'm more comfortable that way, I think.
Yeah.
And I guess really it's somewhere that's got a view, somewhere that's nestled in the plants, and somewhere you can see most of the garden, so you can be distracted and see different elements. Somewhere that you can enjoy the light at different times of the day. We've got a couple of those areas at the minute where I might have a seating area one day, and it will tick all these boxes of having something to look at, enjoying the different lights, and something again that's sort of really, really established looking. I guess that's something I really like. Even if it's something like a piece of furniture or a wooden structure, it has to look like it's been there a long time.
Yeah.
Okay, absolutely. And what plant and drink will you have with you in that area?
So for this plant, I've gone for one of my favourite gingers, which is Hedychium gardnerianum.
Yep,
Ooh,
nice.
Wait a sec.
That one.
That's a great idea.
I've gone for that because it's one of those plants where, from a practical, logical point of view, I can overwinter it in the polytunnel greenhouse, no problem. I know this is a dream garden, but it's a good doer. And as gardeners, whatever style of plants you're interested in, a good doer is worth its weight in gold. Once you find it and realise you can look after that plant and it thrives, stick with it. So I know it's a reliable one. It's not like some tender beauty that might or may not flower that year. And the scent, when it does flower, I mean, the flowers themselves are definitely, I'm showing you about a foot tall, something like that. They're really long flowers. There's so many different blooms in them. They last a few weeks, but the scent coming off them is so strong. It's probably the most sort of heady scented plant I actually grow here. And something like that, I would absolutely grow that 11 months of the year to get that 1 month of flowering. As much as I make jokes about people who grow tomatoes and stuff, for me, that plant is absolutely worth anything it takes to get it to that point where it flowers. And having that in a seating area it would be
fantastic. So you've
like
got
a
the scent
Brugmansia
where you're sitting there. And...
so that'd be my choice for there. Definitely.
Beautiful idea.
And what's your drink?
The drink. I don't actually drink in terms of alcohol, so for
rhubarb cordial.
That's what I'm leaning towards. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Some sort of what I've put actually here is some kind of fruit juice / smoothie, and I'm a fan of ginger beer at the minute.
Yeah.
Now, when I wrote that was about a week ago. I'm open to ginger beer. It's one of those things that every now and again you think, I do like that, the taste of that.
Yeah.
I think for me, it would have to be literally what I said there. Some sort of fruit juice, potentially made with fruit from the garden. A bit of the apple mixed in there, the rhubarb, obviously, but then just with a fiery kick of some ginger, edible ginger, not ginger from my flowers next to me, obviously.
Yeah.
Just with something like that. So it's definitely a solid, fruity, lots of different sort of layers to it, but with a real sort of fieriness that you're not just drinking a little floral cocktail. It has to be like...
Yeah.
If I can use this phrase, if I won't use that phrase, it has to be a very strong tasting smoothie / fruit juice, but I'm completely open to different ingredients and the ratios that they're used to.
Okay.
The other evening, I met a friend for a drink, and she had a gin with rhubarb and ginger in it.
Yes.
And I'm not a fan of gin, so I didn't have any, but I had a little sip, and all I could taste was the rhubarb and ginger. It was like having a ginger beer. And I haven't had one of those for years. It used to be something my grandmother would give me, and so it's a nice memory, the ginger of ginger beer. But the rhubarb and the ginger went really beautifully, and also it drowned out any taste of gin as well, which was a bonus in my eyes. So, but that was a nice
something on those lines, but with a nice sort of citrusy, quite thick, gloopy kind of base of that's what I'm sort of thinking. Padded out with the bananas, obviously, to make it somewhere between a juice and a smoothie.
That sounds right up our street, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Sleepy?
Does sound
Just
very
that
good.
kind of thing.
Well, we have finished going through the dream garden. I will read it back to you, just in case there's anything you want to change. So, garden boundary. We were really going to let nature do its thing, but we did want a very nice kind of mix of old brick, handmade brick and stone, walled garden, but kind of Victorian style, but slightly crumbling in areas with natural, nice vistas. Kind of, you got that formal and informal parts of it.
Yes,
a little stream at the end makes a kind of end boundary, kind of Great Dixter vibes with some timber, wood, little barns, that kind of thing. Quarry, of course. Woodland stream, sea.
Bit of
all sorts going on.
Yeah.
Then we were going to go with a greenhouse, finally. possibly a bit like a palm house. 8 meters by 4 meters, little seating area, stone base definitely, and little raised beds like troughs around the outside, and kind of a mix between modern and traditional style, and very tall, of course. Yes. Then 5 ornamentals. We had the Chilean wine palm, which has to be an old age one, a Bismarckian nobilis, black tree fern, gunnera, and the Yucca linearis. Your 5 edibles, which are going to be kind of in a little kitchen garden, walled off possibly. There's going to be the apple tree for really good crumble, and we're going to need baskets for that.
Lots of
rhubarb, a pumpkin with a forklift truck, dwarf Cavendish banana, and a date palm. Then your 1 tree was the giant redwood, and of course we're going to have a special mention for an arboretum, possibly further down the line.
Ideally, then, yes.
You wanted a pond with a kind of natural ravine, local stone, kind of mix between natural and man-moved stone kind of around, with some little ferns, and a maple for autumn colour. And finally, your seating area was kind of under a nice pergola, possibly hanging egg chair, kind of over-engineered but rustic and solid between the two, with a Hedychium gardnerianum and a nice fruit smoothie / juice, potentially from garden produce, and ginger to give a kick.
That's excellent. I'm amazed at your ability to actually decipher my ramblings and get them into a lovely list. It sounds like somewhere I would like to go to really now.
Yeah, it does.
I personally got it. I like having that mix of kind of crumbling walls and kind of the nature's doing its thing, but at the same time you're just keeping some areas nice. I like that.
That's absolutely beautiful.
I think that's everything that I would want in a garden, but around that would be so much sort of natural. Just let it happen, what it wants to happen. Yeah. Lots of flowing planting, lots of perennials, grasses, and everything that would really sort of tie it together. But no, it sounds beautiful. Well done for cutting it down to that list.
Well, thank you so much for your time, George. Really appreciate it.
Thank you both for your time. I've taken up a lot of it.
That's been a good old chit chat with George.